who some of them are not capable of comprehending or even understanding a simple definition like this. So I break it down for them. You just say that addiction is the pursuit or the going after pleasure, which for most of them, because if you ask most kids why they use drugs, what are some of the responses they give you?
Fun.
Feel good. What? What else?
Fun.
Fun. Looking. Or most importantly, what do they say? They always, I'm bored. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got nothing to do. So they looking for pleasure or fun and excitement at the expense or the cost of their personal freedom. And when we talk about freedom, what we're talking about is this: the right working of their minds. Or in other words, their thinking. So their thinking is distorted now. Once a person becomes addicted, everything that used to make sense don't make sense to everybody else but them. You know what I'm saying? Man, I get high because, it's the right thing to do, man. It make me, man, I be jet, man. Yeah, I wake up with a shaking bake, man. Wake and bake, man, it's on. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know. I do know. See, now you overwhelmed with all this errant nonsense. Now you want me to think the same way that you think. See, it's making sense out of nonsense. So now here's a person who's going after fun and excitement at the cost of their personal freedom, which is the right working of their mind or their thinking. And as a result of that, they actually end up becoming this, which is a slave to the drug. And once a person becomes a slave to the drug, then what it does is this: it ends all of their dreams. Because now, instead of living in reality, they're always in fantasy. And all you got to do is ask them this simple question. Say, when you sitting around with your friends and y'all getting high and one of them starts shooting off about what they going to be and what they going to do when they grow up, what you be thinking when they be saying that? And you say, man, I don't be thinking that. I say, man, shut up, man. Stop lying. They know that you that you living in a fantasy. They know that your dreams are dead. They know that they gone. Only person don't know that they gone are you, the actual user. Because as a result of the drug use, then now you fell into this thing called denial. And believe me, when I say denial, I ain't talking about a river in Egypt. I'm talking about your thinking, yet again, when you start, don't realize that you don't even notice I am lying. And who am I lying to? I'm lying to myself. And this is the irony. I don't even realize it. I don't notice it. I don't know it. And I think in my thinking, the problem ain't with me, it's with the people around me. The friends that I have, the associates that I have that confront me and say to me, why are you doing this? I don't think that they're coming to me in concern. I think that they're bugging me, and what I need to do is just get some new friends. I think that everybody around me has created a problem for me. It ain't me, it's them. And that's what happens when a person becomes engulfed in addiction. We look at why do people start using drugs. Well, one of the reasons is they do it to what? To feel what? Feel better. To feel better. Man, make me feel good, man. I feel like, man, I'm all right, man. When I'm on when I'm high. They, most people start using out of curiosity. That's one of the number one reasons most people start using. Because they get curious. They hear so much about it from their friends. They think that they got a social network going on so tough, man, and they on the outside, man, trying to figure out what's going on the inside, that they want to get in there so badly. Because the people who are already on the inside are stuck and trapped, and they gonna make them think, hey man, this is the best thing since sliced bread, man. You gotta come on down, dude. And the reality of it all is that they stuck and they don't know how to get out themselves. So that becomes a problem, for a lot of young people when they encounter people who are not willing to tell them the truth about what drugs are really doing to them. Most, in my years of working with adolescents, I might have encountered maybe a handful that have said, honestly, that, man, whenever somebody asks me about it, I tell them, don't do it, man. So you just don't know what this is like. This is a wide awoke nightmare, and I'm trapped, and I don't know how to get out. And they be honest with them, where most people tell them, oh, man, it ain't, man, they don't know it. They don't know what they talking about. Talking about people like myself, physicians, therapists, psychologists. We don't know what we talking about because they are experiencing it for themselves, and to them, it makes them feel good. So because it makes them feel good, they think, man, can't nothing be wrong with it. It's part of what we've been talking about all along in our lessons about the problems that children face. If a child has been damaged emotionally, mentally, spiritually, sexually by the people around him, the caregivers, when he trips up on mood altering substances, things that changes his reality and puts him in a place where he actually, feels good, man, it's like, to him, it's like he's found utopia. To this individual, nobody can tell him anything different. Even when this individual begins to see his life falling apart, he still will not take into consideration, making different choices or doing things that will probably turn his life around, such as, putting the blunts out, putting the plug in the jug, and moving on. Those things don't come into mind. It's how can I do this without getting the consequences? And unfortunately, the longer you do it, the worse the consequences get. And because of this, as the consequences come, it's always somebody else's fault. So that becomes the irony, and that becomes the cycle of the addiction in the first place. Because when we look at why people do it, they also do it because they think that they can do better. I'm sure that in your experiences, you've heard kids say, man, when I get high, man, I can play better, man. I can write better. I can, man, I got an A, man, on my test, man. I smoked the blunt before the test, and I got an A. Oh, okay, all right. I ain't debating that. I ain't saying you didn't. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sure that ain't gonna be the norm, because you had to do something to get that A. That information just didn't come to you by osmosis, just because you were sitting in the classroom under the influence, and somebody just touched you and it just fell out on you. You had to study, pay attention in some form or another, for all that information to come to you. Or, reality, being real with them, you might have a diagnosis, a mental diagnosis, or mental disorder, should I say, that has not been properly diagnosed. And hell, I mean, that might have just kind of, the use of that stimulant might have just, kicked in and helped you to focus. That's all that is. But you know what I'm saying? You need to stop playing doctor and go see a real one. So thinking that you can do better, sports, studies, drive, oh yeah,